Crossroads Channel of Light Fluid. The time on Channel of Light Fluid is just 22 minutes to 4, and it's time to return to Frostfang. I stretch in my bed and blink as the soft morning light streams into my room. Waking up is less and less difficult, so I'm able to get used to different conditions. That's good to know. Once I get out from under the sheets, I stretch a second time and get up to do my morning wash. No one knocks on my door in the meantime. On the one hand, it's a good thing because no one woke me up. But on the other hand, it gave me a sense of importance that I liked. Having nothing planned for the day, I decide to see if Maelbjorn is available. A feeling his fathers are now dealing with the most delicate matters of the kingdom, and this leaves him somewhat idle. And if there's one thing I know, it's that having an entertained noble never bodes well. Who knows what kind of ideas might be brewing in his head. Once properly dressed, I make my way through the corridors. Only the guards are present at this hour, so I flash them a smile as they silently greet me with a nod. First of all, I stop by the kitchen to get a little snack. A loaf of bread will do, then I'm on my way again. I'm beginning to get used to my new status. Sure, everyone is distant, but at least no one is threatening to throw me in a cell anymore. And eventually, I arrive outside the prince's room. Gillian is leaning against the wall and takes a quick glance in my direction when he sees me coming. I don't even have time to speak to him when he opens the door and signals me to enter. Am I expected? I don't think Maelbjorn gave me an appointment. But the bear is standing there, idling away. When he hears me enter, he straightens suddenly and greets me.
Erik, I was going to send Gillian to get you.
Really? It's always flattering when the Crown Prince thinks of me. I flash my playful grin at the bear, who sweeps away my humorous quip with his paw.
I know this is your way of approaching things, but I need a little seriousness, please.
All right. I'm listening to you.
I was able to talk with Tenok about some incidents that might concern you. Please sit down.
I settle into the chair facing the prince while putting on my most serious air. Incidents,
A few years ago in Caer Gweddol, a town in the north of the kingdom, a good part of the population lost the use of their brand temporarily. We were never able to figure out where the problem came from, but there were rumours.
I bite into my piece of bread as I listen intently to Maelbjorn. The bear looks at me with a clear annoyance in his eyes. When I raise that I've dropped crumbs on some documents, I quickly sweep them away with a flick of my paw and let them fall to the ground. From the look on the prince's face, this is not what he expected from me.
Anyway, Tenok helped me understand the situation a little better. All over the known regions of Telson, brands with impressive powers have appeared. His is one of them.
And what exactly does that have to do with me?
Well, it seems that each appearance has been accompanied by an impressive display of power. Explosion, total darkness, sudden freezing. You see where I'm going with this.
I did think the awakening of my brand had nothing to do with what I knew about brands. I knew it wasn't supposed to happen like this. They awakened like mine.
Exactly. Unfortunately, we still don't know why there are similarities. Besides that, not all brands that appeared like yours are brands of the Forgetful Ones. You are still the only one to bear one, to our knowledge. Anyway, we are pooling our efforts with Tenok's acquaintances to learn more about it. I'll keep you informed if we have anything new.
And I suppose this is all to be kept between us? The prince nods gravely.
I trust you on that.
And you won't regret it. He finally smiles, and I relax in turn.
I wish I had more concrete and positive news to bring you, but they are scarce these days. However, I have prepared a little something for you. It'll help you learn to read and write.
Oh, what is it? Maelbjorn pulls a small book from a drawer and flips through it for a moment.
It's a collection of fables. They are short stories in rhyme with a moral at the end.
Oh, yeah, I know what a fable is. Rago, my old boss, he liked to tell these kinds of stories on our trips. I hesitate for a moment before asking. Can I hear one?
Of course, that's why I brought this book.
The prince clears his throat and reads with a cheerful tone.
This fable is called The Bear and the Caterpillar.
A bear was preparing to sleep through winter, when he crossed the path of a small critter.
My salutations, exclaimed the bear as he slowly walked towards his den.
My greetings, replied the caterpillar, was ready to ascend.
And thus the two neighbours, each on his own side, found a cosy shelter to sleep and to hide. As the warm days drew near, the bear had to reappear. Then he came across a beautiful butterfly that was twirling and swirling high in the sky. It's me, dear neighbour, I was but a critter. Now don't you feel a little bitter?
Oh, exclaimed the bear with much curiosity.
Telling me your secret would be generosity.
I cannot, said the insect, it is but my nature.
Angry, the bear walked away from his cocky neighbour, convinced that he could also transform.
The animal fell asleep nice and warm.
He slept so long and so well that he died, for such is the fate of those with too much pride.
Maelbjorn loses his cheerful expression, takes on a harsher look.
What we will remember from this sad story is that we should not seek to win vain glory. To each his nature and to each his place. Defy our condition and suffer disgrace.
What the fuck?
A Macadian story of the children of their slaves. Lovely, isn't it?
I thought I was going to have a relaxing time with him, but here I am back in another lesson. Was that really necessary?
Knowing your enemy is necessary, yes. You must understand who they are to know what they are going to do.
I rub my eyes with a long sigh. On the one hand, I'm barely awake and I don't really want to have a fight with Maelbjorn. But on the other, I'm probably the only person here who can tell him things in complete honesty. I think reality is more complicated than that.
How so?
Okay, so I understand your position. I know what the country went through because of Mechad, and I know what they do in their country. Well, let's rather say I've heard about it. I won't defend what they do, but let's say that overnight the Mechadian kingdom ceases to exist. Do you think things would suddenly get better?
We could imagine a whole bunch of scenarios. It doesn't change the reality.
You know as well as I do they wouldn't fix anything. Both countries feed off each other's hatred. You made it clear to me the cohesion of our kingdom is possible because of the hostility of our neighbours.
But I want to fight for their freedom as well as Frostfang's.
I think it's possible. Just not the way you see it. You shouldn't seek their destruction. Rather, I think you should help change them. But for that to happen, Frostfang needs to change too. The bear groans as he rubs his eyes.
Most Frostians have experienced war. It's a colossal task to lead them away from it.
Hey, I never said it would be easy. But you're not alone in this. You'll have my music and my incredible charm by your side. I then offer my best smile to the prince, who manages to return it despite his sullen mood.
I'll think about it, but I'm not promising anything. There are a lot of issues that are out of my control.
He pauses and looks down.
Not to mention that warfare, conflict, those are probably the subjects I have the most knowledge of. It's kind of what music and singing are to you.
There's nothing stopping you from organising tournaments. I'd love to see you fight for the beauty of it. By the way, you plan to fight during your birthday.
I'm not allowed to. Being here does not only have good sides.
Oh, I didn't think your fathers would preserve you so much from outside dangers.
Maelbjorn gives me a somewhat annoyed look. I don't need to be preserved. I fear no one in single combat as long as no brand is activated. And believe me, I won't give my opponents time to do so.
Oh, you don't fear anyone? Not even Gilliant?
I can beat him, I'm sure, but he is far more terrifying than I am against people who use their brands.
See, there are advantages when you can't rely on your powers. You'll be able to develop a whole bunch of abilities that other people don't have.
Unfortunately, that doesn't count in the eyes of my detractors.
And they can go fuck themselves. You should try telling him to get lost.
The grizzly laughs softly as he shakes his head. See, now, that's advice I won't take, even though I'm very tempted.
If you don't do it, I'll compose nice little songs just for them, as soon as I can write.
Don't make me regret that idea.
Too late for regrets. I laugh and set my eyes on the Book of Fables. I hope you find better learning material. I don't plan to shove depressing stories down my throat all day long. Find me something positive. I need it.
All right. You'll get everything you want, and I promise not to bother you with my political discussions anymore. Well, at least as long as it's not necessary.
That promise doesn't fall on deaf ears. I stand up and look around. A shelf full of books catches my eye. In the meantime, I have to keep learning, so you'll excuse me, but I'm going to grab this one. I triumphantly pull out a book. The bear can't help but snicker when he sees the cover.
Are you sure you want this one?
Why? What is it about?
It's a chronicle of the war between Frostfang and Mechad.
Really? You have a strange obsession with Mechad. Maybe you should talk with Akhet. I'm sure you'll find it very interesting. With an amused look, the prince gets up and walks over to another shelf from which he pulls out a book.
The fact you're rummaging through the bookcase meant for political literature doesn't really help my case.
Oh, my lord is very organised, I see. I could learn a thing or two from him, considering the current state of my room.
If a prince doesn't have some degree of personal organisation, he'll never be able to manage a whole kingdom.
He then hands me a book, which I immediately grab. The first letter is a T, I think. Then I have trouble understanding the words. Till?
Tales. The whole title is Tales and Legends of the North Seas, stories about monsters and pirates. I'm sure you'll like it.
Ooh, I sure will. Satisfied with this find, I settle back into my chair, ready to resume my studies. You know, I've met some pirates. Very nice ones, mind you.
Really? Were they the ones who taught you that sea shanty?
Oh, they taught me a lot of things, including sea shanties, yes. I've obviously caught the bear's attention. He's looking at me with a new glint in his eyes.
Can you tell me about that? I haven't had much of a chance to get out of the castle, let alone travel outside the capital.
Proud to be able to share my experiences with the prince, I spend the rest of the day telling him about my adventures around the country. For once, I feel like his equal, and I must say, it's rather pleasant. Maelbjorn, Chapter 3. Images of the Past. In the morning, as I leave my room to head to the temple, Semi is waiting for me in the hallway and smiles warmly when she sees me. You didn't think we were planning to let you go to your lessons alone, did you? Oh, no, I expected it. Besides, there's worse company. I can't complain. The spy lets out a chuckle as she takes the lead. Our prince's mood changed noticeably yesterday. I guess your visit had its effect. What happened? Oh, I didn't do much. It's natural for me to improve the atmosphere. I wink at the fennec, who laughs as she tucks her arm under mine. I hope you don't talk too much nonsense to him. He's still young and impressionable. That's not surprising, considering he can't get out of the capital at will. The kings should consider themselves lucky that he hasn't gone mad already. The fennec sighs as she looks at the horizon once we're out of the castle. I guess we all live in a cage, one way or another. That cage of responsibility we talk so much about, It always comes back to that. Plus there's this anguish in him. Or is it anger? For a moment Semi loses his smile, then she regains it almost instantly. That is a good thing. Frostfang needs that rage. We all need it. Without anger comes apathy. For the first time I hear a slight tremble in the Fennec's voice. I can't tell if it's anger or sadness. I wonder what kind of influence she has on Maelbjorn. Maybe it's necessary for the kingdom, but I'm not sure it's good for the prince. He understands his duties and the cost of power. I'm sure he'll do just fine once he's king. Semi gives me a smile meant to be reassuring, but deep down I begin to understand Maelbjorn. They all have expectations of him, even if no one tells him clearly. He is the beacon of hope for his entire nation, so much so that they forget he is just like everyone else at the core. I guess that's all it means to be the future king. I'm sure of it too. We spend some of the way in silence. We both enjoyed the fresh air of the lower city. Do you often have the opportunity to leave the capital? Oh, rarely. The kingdom has active agents to act abroad. You don't seem to be upset about it. That's because I'm not. As much as I love my original homeland, I've grown attached to the Frostians and their way of life. Bloodthirsty barbarians, am I right? I can't help but grin at the Fennec who returns it. We both know the kingdom's reputation abroad. That's the words our enemies use to refer to us, yes. But only with the Frostians, all people they deem suitable for assimilation are savages in their eyes. I guess it's a way to make themselves feel better about what they do to us. What they don't understand is that by repeating these words, they make it a reality. Why should we hold back if they think we are bloodthirsty beasts? At some point you almost want to prove them right. Shouldn't we be setting a good example instead? The spy master lets out another laugh as she shakes her head. In a better world, surely. But in reality, violence only understands violence, I fear. Which makes me a future tool of that violence if my powers prove to be useful. Even if she doesn't say it clearly, that's what I'm getting from this conversation. I know it's naive. I'm sure there's a solution to all these conflicts. Oh, I don't think that's naive to believe that. Every problem has a solution. The question is, how far are we willing to go to enforce it? But the kings know the cost of a war, and so does Mekhed. I doubt we'll get to that point. Whereas Maelbjorn... No, Erik, don't let that thought slip from your lips. Does it have to end with a war? Well, the second possibility would be a strange in-between. That's where we are now. A few border skirmishes, some assassination attempts here and there, and insults in all shapes and forms. It's more like children bickering in an alarmed conflict. I hesitate for a moment before asking. Can I be part of a third possibility, with my powers? Maybe. Maybe not. We are still far from having the answer to that question, I fear. I'll do my best to get that answer as soon as possible in that case. However, before I have time to discuss this any further with Semi, we come within sight of the temple. We hurry join Vol, who's watching us from the step of the building, greeting us briefly with a nod.
Lady Semi, Lord Erik.
Lord Vol, as agreed, I brought you our little protégé. Someone else will come for him in an hour.
Someone else? Are you not waiting for me this time?
Unfortunately, I have other obligations, but I'm sure you'll manage to get back without any problems. She bows to us and leaves, while I watch her go with a sceptical look. I wonder who's going to pick me up later. I've got nothing against the Royal Guards, but the trip will be more pleasant with someone I know.
Good. Let's not waste any more time than necessary. Follow me.
Without giving me time to answer, the priest heads off in the direction of the classrooms. Well, I see you're still in a great mood. I have a feeling we're going to have some fun. We take our seats in one of the rooms. I barely have time to put my ass on a seat where I'm being verbally attacked.
Well, show me quickly.
Show you what?
Your awakening gesture. Awaken your brand so we can get started.
So, yeah, how about that? It's possible that, for the moment, despite everything I've tried, I haven't yet found the right gesture.
Not yet, really? Have you even tried?
There's no way I'm telling him I didn't look into it. He'd throw his hammer right in my face. Of course I tried.
Not hard enough, obviously.
Hey, my brand is different from everyone else's. That could be a factor too, right?
I don't see why. You just haven't practiced enough.
Does he have beef with me now? What did I do to make him so unsympathetic? Can I ask what's going on? You've never exactly been an example of cheerfulness, but I haven't done anything to deserve that kind of treatment. He lets out a long sigh as he runs a hand over his face.
I was hoping that things would be different by now, that we'd have more control over your teaching.
More control? Are you talking about what happened at the council?
The prince's opposition weakened my position. I don't doubt for a moment I could have convinced the kings were it not for his intervention.
No offence, but I'm rather pleased with this outcome. Lady Astrid is right, you know. Lock me up here and I don't give 2 days or I go mad.
Don't exaggerate the situation. This is not a prison.
Maybe, but that's how I'd perceive it. Bardic freedom is not just a vague concept or excuse for our behaviour. It's a principle at the very heart of our craft. We must be free to sing about any subject, to inform the people of what is going on in this vast world, and to make fun of everyone. To be locked in one place is entirely against our nature.
I see. And although I don't approve, I can understand. My behaviour was inappropriate. As a teacher, I have to do better. Let's start over on better terms. So you didn't manage to awaken your brand?
No, I felt nothing at all, not even the slightest tickle.
That happens sometimes. It's usually a complicated situation, but in your case we may have a way around it.
How so?
Your brand has already been active. In an uncontrolled way, sure, but that does not change the facts. Try to remember now. What were you doing when NeveN chose you? What did you do to make the power of time manifest?
I don't really want to remember that day. It hasn't exactly been my favourite one the last few weeks. But I don't really have a choice. I'm digging through my memory, looking for whatever I was doing before... Oh, I'm a big idiot. Well, is the awakening gesture necessarily a gesture?
What do you mean?
Can it also be something that's pronounced, words spoken out loud?
It's a possibility. I've seen brands activated by dance and sometimes even by playing instruments. There are as many ways to awaken a brand as there are to experience life.
Right, I know what I have to do. It's what I do best, after all. It's time to sing. I take a deep breath and close my eyes for a moment to focus on my brand. And eventually its shape appears in my mind once again. For some reason, as I open my mouth to sing, it's not the words of Frostfang's hymn that come to me, but my grandfather's old lullaby. Don't fear the howling wind, nor the shadows in your mind. 1,000 stars will shine, 1,000 more will smile. Here come Argon and Ilaria. Here come NeveN and Minasa. There is no night without morning, and soon the sun will be soaring. When the last note echoes through the room, I feel a gentle warmth under my back. I don't need to see Vol's delighted look to understand what's going on. My brand is awake and glowing under my clothes, its white circles now clearly visible through them.
Magnificent. You are truly chosen by the gods, my boy. How fortunate of me to be able to witness such a manifestation of divine power. Tell me everything. Has the world changed for you? What is different?
I'm feeling hot in the back, I guess? The priest looks at me with the most sceptical expression. What the fuck does he want from me? I'm not going to lie just to satisfy his beliefs.
I guess I was expecting a little too much. Its true power will probably only be revealed when your brand is activated.
So yeah, about that. Now that it's awakened, what exactly do I do?
Fortunately, that part should be pretty similar to the training of a normal brand. Even you should be able to get results pretty quickly.
Ignore that observation. Don't hit him. You'll probably get a chance to do that later.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll have dozens of opportunities to retaliate.
So I try hard to hold back the stream of insults burning my lips, each more inventive than the last. Vol reaches into his pocket to pull out the pebble from last time. Or another one. I mean, it's a pebble. I don't know how many he keeps in his pockets. It's actually an extremely odd thing to have with you at all times. We'll use this to start with. Well, I don't want to be negative or anything, but it's a pebble. I don't have a brand of Quran. I can't do anything with it. I know, I'm not senile yet, but that's not the point. According to the captain's report, your brand seems to have the ability to freeze things in time, to stop objects if they were not affected by anything. That's what we're going to try right now. I'll use my own brand to make the pebble float slightly while you focus on it. I want you to use your powers to freeze it in the air. Alright, I understand the idea. However, we have a small problem. Really? I still have no idea how to activate my brand. Now that it's awake, it shouldn't be too complex. Focus on the pebble. Imagine it motionless, frozen in place. It should come fairly naturally to you. I see you're still as thorough and as clear as ever. So I just have to concentrate on that rock? I suppose I can try. I don't risk anything by doing it after all. It's the kind of shitty famous last words we tend to say before a sudden death. But sure. Everything is fine, Erik. So I put my eyes on the pebble and focus on it as hard as I can. I'm not going to lie. Right now I feel especially ridiculous. Wherever as I continue to stare at the rock, something starts to change. A white circle appears on the surface of the stone. It slowly rotates before my eyes. Almost unwillingly, my attention is drawn back to the circle. I tilt my head to one side as I watch this spinning ring, and I think, no, I know that I wanted to. I could force it to stop. As if it were one of my own limbs, I command the white circle to freeze, to halt its rotations. And immediately, it stops. I look at the pebble floating in front of me, motionless. I wonder exactly what I've just done before I hear a clap next to me. Congratulations, well done. It's absolutely fantastic. I'll expect nothing less from the bearer of the brand of time. I'm not sure what I... That's when I see his arms. There is no light under the pieces of metal that cover his brand. He's not using his powers. And yet the pebble still floats in the air and moving, as if frozen in time. Exactly, my boy. Isn't it beautiful? The power of a forgetful one right there in front of our very eyes. It's impressive, but also a little frightening. How so? It was easy. Too easy. Isn't it a bit scary to know that I can just freeze objects like that with just a look? Don't think this exercise represents a real situation. The stone wasn't moving. It has no way of fighting you. Who knows if you can do the same as easily on a moving target, or on a living being. Besides, this power, like all the others, is only frightening in the hands of someone who's willing to use it against his own. Tell me, is this your case? What? No! In that case, there's no need to worry. Let us simply rejoice that we can witness this God-given wonder. My gaze goes back to the motionless pebble in the air. I know I don't intend to use it on anyone, at least not to do harm. But I also know who I am, how I act when I'm angry. It won't be the first time I hurt someone. How do I stop it? You only must will it. Your brand is part of your body. How do you move your arms or your ears? Awakening is the complex part. The rest is just practice. I focus again on the stone. After a brief moment, it simply falls to the ground, while I feel the brand on my back fall dormant. At the same moment, a wave of fatigue hits me along with a slight pain in my temple. What? No matter how hard I focus on the damn rock, nothing happens. Vol even seems to be having fun laughing at me as he spins it slowly. He's clearly not going to make it easy. Sorry, I just can't... The pebble is suddenly thrown in my direction and hits me in the temple. Ouch! What are you, complete moron? What kind of idea is that? I wanted to check something. You never know, your brand might activate passively like Arakar's.
Doesn't seem to be the case. You didn't fucking bother to warn me before throwing that in my face? Screw you.
The pain disappears almost immediately, leaving me with this strange conversation in my head. I know it never happened, but at the same time, I have an extremely clear memory of it. What the fuck was that? Well, you didn't throw that pebble at my face, did you?
Of course I didn't. Why?
Because... oh, nothing. It's just a feeling. I must be getting tired. Do we carry on with the training? Will takes a moment to look me up and down.
No. The first activation can be tiring. If you really see things that didn't happen, it's best to stop there.
What? That's it? I'm not that tired.
Need I remind you to also have to train with the captain of the Royal Guard?
Oh, right. I forgot about that. Shit. You know what? We've actually made a lot of progress today.
That's what I thought.
Should I prepare something for tomorrow?
Stick to your brand's awakening and try to make it dormant too. Nothing more. Which means you should not even try to activate it. We still don't know your limits, and I'd rather avoid an incident.
That shouldn't be a problem. I'm planning to train with Aked this afternoon, so I'll have ample opportunity to sing in order to awaken my brand. So, see you tomorrow?
Yes, see you tomorrow.
The boar seems to have lost all interest in me and starts mumbling unintelligible words as I leave. I guess my brand's powers really impressed him. So I leave him to his thoughts as I head out to the city. Here I am with a power over time. Well, I can freeze a pebble. Sure, when you put it that way, it's not impressive, but who knows what I'll be able to do with a bit of practice. Wait a minute, who really knows what I'll be capable of in the future? If I'm ever able to really change things, to go back or to go forward, would that be a wise move? Should I do it? Could I stop myself from doing it if necessary? I never. I was so caught up with my brand's awakening I didn't take a second to think about what it meant to control time. No, stop. Let's focus and think, Erik. For now, you need to get back to the castle, find Gillian and learn to swing your sword properly. The rest you'll see later. If you start messing around with... My thoughts are abruptly interrupted by the sudden encounter between my face and what appears to be a wall. However, as I look up, Vekad is in front of me, giving the most dubious look. Oh, hi?
You should look where you're going.
I was lost in thought.
Try to make a habit of it.
I do my best. Why are you standing there?
I was asked to come get you.
Oh, I was expecting to see Semi.
She's busy.
I see he's in a great mood today. I know he's never been one for long speeches, but his sentences are particularly short. I could try to ask him some questions, find out what's going on. I'm starting to know the hunter. He'll only talk to me if he wants to talk to me. So we go back to the streets and I whistle as we walk, trying to fill this awkward silence. After a few minutes, however, Vekad speaks again.
How did it go?
Oh, with my brand. Well, you see, I'm now the dread of pebbles.
I thought you had a brand of time.
Well, made a small stone float and had to freeze it in time. And that's it. That's the extent of my powers at the moment.
I expected better than that, considering all the fuss everyone's making about you.
This is just the beginning. I'm sure I can do better.
How does it's working then?
And the silence falls on us again. But this time I'm the one who breaks it. And you, how are you doing? You've never been overjoyed, but you seem particularly grumpy today.
Don't know what you're talking about.
After a long sigh, I stare at Vekad.
It's only something that went wrong.
Nothing serious, I hope. He shrugs.
Stop asking questions. You're better off not knowing anything.
You know that if you ever need help...
I said stop.
Okay, alright. The message got through. I was just trying to be nice. The rest of the trip is spent in uncomfortable silence. It's only when we arrive inside the castle gates that I hear Vekad's voice again.
Go on by yourself. Have things to do.
Oh, alright. He turns around and I can't help but add, Hey Vekad, Are you sure you'll be okay? He doesn't turn back as he answers. Don't you worry about me. You have more important things to do. He then disappears into the street as I head for the castle. I didn't think the failure of Maelbjorn's plan would affect him so much. In fact, I'm even beginning to doubt if that's all there is to his behaviour. Fuck, I don't need to think about this on top of everything else. I should find Gillian. I'm sure hitting stuff will relax me. As I arrive in front of the training room, I see Rowan and the captain talking in the hall. The former notices my presence and greets me with a nod. Looks like our student is on time after all. The panther turns to face me and nods as well. Your student? I don't remember having a session with you, Rowan. He's going to participate in your training today. I want to show you what a real fight with brands looks like, so you know what to expect. Ooh, that's exciting. It was already impressive to see you fight the prince, so I can't imagine what it'd be like with powers. But wouldn't that be a little counterproductive? And with your brand, I wouldn't really get to see the use of Rowan's power. The panther throws a bag at me so hard it takes my breath away. Less questions, more observation. Be careful with that bag. It's our snack. I struggle so hard not to throw the bag back. You'll see, big guy. I'll get my revenge one of these days. I think about my future payback. The captain takes the lead. To my surprise, it's not to head to the training room. On the contrary, he's heading for the stairs. Where are we go? The temple fighting grounds. Fighting the castle is out of the question. For fuck's sake, I just got back. Besides, I have to give Rowan a chance to win. The snow leopard sneers as he follows close behind. I have to hurry to match their pace. It's like it when I use my spores. That's why he wants us to fight outside. Your spores? He winks at me with the most mysterious look. Yeah, right. Give yourself an excuse when I kick your ass. Even though I'm doing my best to understand their bickering, I must admit I'm totally lost at the moment. I know the more questions I ask, the more bullshit wisdom Gillian will give me. So I'm going to stay quiet and observe, just like he asked. Fortunately, they just have small talk the rest of the way. We finally arrive at the temple grounds, where I first met Rowan. Stay here. You should be far enough away not to get hurt. That's reassuring. So I put the bag down and sit next to it in the hope I can steal a little something when these two are busy beating each other up. Go ahead, I'm watching you. You better be. That's what you're here for. They stand in front of each other, brandishing their weapons and observing their movements with almost palpable determination. Gillian holds his greatsword in both hands, while Rowan holds a regular straight sword in one hand, apparently using his free arm for balance. First, you observe the effect of the brand of Arakar on another brand. Why that one in particular? The captain sighs. He gives me the most jaded look I've ever seen. But if our enemies want to capture you, they're probably going to need someone to resist your powers. So you'll have to learn to be inventive if you want to get around the protection this brand gives us. Gillian then turns to Rowan. Go ahead. That's when I perceive the soft light of a brand glowing into the snow leopard's armour, around his left thigh. A long vine emerges from under his arm guard to stretch along his hand as if it were a snake. Eventually the plant extends all the way to the other armoured feline. Once in Gillian's vicinity, the tip of the vine instantly begins to dangle in the air. As you can see, his control of the plant stops within my perimeter. That doesn't make the plant disappear. It doesn't break his control over the rest of the vine. I can see that, but how is he supposed to fight you then? I already told you, by being inventive. Rowan withdraws his vine and stands guard again. This time, however, the end of the plant clinging to his arm is covered with huge thorns. He uses it as a whip by sending it in Gillian's direction. This time, although he loses control of the vine, the speed at which he attacks causes it to keep its momentum, forcing the panther to cut it with his blade. Rowan takes this opportunity to charge straight to the captain and strikes with his sword. The blade is deflected by the captain's weapon, who counterattacks, bringing his blade down on his opponent. The snow leopard suddenly retreats, and the tip of the panther's weapon jams into what appears to be wood, covering Rowan's right forearm. Said wood thickens and covers the captain's blade, locking it. It doesn't look like Gillian's brand has the reach to prevent his opponent from using his powers. Got you. In that moment of hesitation from the panther, Rowan takes the opportunity to extend the vine hanging from his arm, laying out rows of brambles behind the captain without him noticing. But rather than drop his weapon, the captain approaches the snow leopard violently and tries to bite him in the throat. Caught in this tight hand-to-hand fight, having his sword arm locked in place because of Gillian's blade, without his powers, Rowan finds himself in a tricky situation against a much larger feline. A sudden realization then comes to me. Just like when Maelbjorn was sparring with Gillian, I can sense this whole exercise is more than just a friendly confrontation. It seems that war is both a passion and an art for them. It even goes so far as to say it's a lifestyle. And neither of them intends to lose. Abruptly the ground gives way under their feet. A gaping hole is created just as Gillian manages to detach his sword from Rowan's arm. The rift that separates the two warriors is teeming with living roots, and that's when I realise that one of these roots leads to the heel of the snow leopard. Meanwhile, the captain has no time to realise the presence of brambles under his paws as he backs up and steps on them, letting out a grunt of pain mixed with surprise.
Motherfuck!
Rowan gives him no time to swear and leaps over the rift to attack him at once. This forces Gillian to dance among the brambles, half limping from the thorn embedded in his paw. The shrill sound of steel rubbing against steel rings in my ears as two felines exchange blows. I realise that Rowan's movements are getting slower and, despite his injury, the captain still seems to be in good shape. Is this the after effect of his brand? I vaguely heard of it before, but this is the first time I've seen someone get tired so suddenly. I also feel like Gillian's assaults are more violent. Gradually his feline grace gives way to almost bestial savagery. His greatsword comes down on Rowan's weapon with force, and the latter falters, struggling not to lose his footing. Finally, with a flick of his wrist, the panther slides the tip of his blade into the hilt of his opponent's weapon, forcing him to drop his weapon or risk losing fingers.
Yeah, I was so close to winning.
Yeah, right. I was so close to falling asleep. The captain sneers as he sits down to observe closely his injured paw.
Your brambles are nasty.
Told you I'd win if I could use my spores. Gillian looks in my direction and beckons me.
Bring the bag. I have bandages in it.
I get up, taking my time, and drop the bag at his feet. Then he grabs what he needs to treat his wound. That's a lot closer than I thought it would be.
That's because I trained him. You don't get to be a royal guard without being one of the elites of this realm.
Rowan leans towards me, pretending to whisper. He'll never admit the student can surpass his master sometimes.
You keep this up, I'm really going to kick your ass.
I smile as I watch them teasing each other. I must say it's a change to see Gillian like this. It's reassuring in a way. He almost seems nice.
Well, I hope you're watching carefully. I don't intend to give a demonstration like that every time you have something to learn.
I must say that was impressive. But what was I supposed to learn? I mean, besides the fact you had to be inventive against the brand of Araka.
You need to keep in mind that someone who knows how to handle their brand is not to be taken lightly. There are more dangerous people out there than Rowan and me. People who will come after you.
Ooh, Gillian, you tease. You're always ready to cheer me up in the best way. Yeah, you get used to it with time, I suppose. My gaze wanders to his paw wound, and I blink as I look in Rowan's direction. Fortunately, my mind catches up with me if I can ask any silly questions. Can't be easy being immune to brand healing.
I don't miss much. Rowan is terrible at it anyway.
It's not my fault I was hired to kill people and not heal them. I chuckle and try to get serious again when I see Gillian's disapproving look. Am I allowed to ask more questions, or are you going to lecture me?
Not now. I don't intend to answer it on an empty stomach.
I chuckle as the captain pulls out a long sausage from the bag, biting into it with a sigh of relief.
So tasty.
Once he's finished with the piece of meat, the captain clears his throat.
So, what do you want to know?
Well, I was wondering why the flames disappeared when you fought that bandit the first time we met. I mean, Rowan's plants didn't disappear during your fight, he just lost control of them.
The flames are a brand of argon, need to be maintained by its possessor. They have no source, no fuel, so they simply disappear. Some brands have more advantages than others against mine. Besides, I've been training against Argon's brands for a while, so that bull didn't stand a chance.
Why'd you train against these brands in particular?
Well, I have my reasons.
One of them is that I have to fight Tenok during our prince's birthday tournament. I fully intend to win, and I imagine he's also trained to beat me. Oh, known his love of theatrics, I have no doubt he'll do his best to make this fight last. I sprawl on the ground with a sigh, relaxing at the touch of the grass tickling my ears. I'm already looking forward to it. I'm also eager to be part of the show. Aren't you supposed to be singing to kick off the whole festival? Yes, and to top it all off, I'm supposed to demonstrate my powers. Problem is right now, the only thing I know is how to freeze pebbles in time. Hey, you can do a lot of stuff with that. Let's just get the crowd to throw rocks at you while you block them all. I have a sudden vision of a cascade of boulders falling in my direction. I think I'll keep practicing to find something else. In the worst case, you always have that option. He grins, clearly amused by his little quip, while Gillian finishes eating and stands up. Get up now. You've had a demonstration, so it's time for you to work. Draw your sword. I guess lying in the grass for the rest of the session was a bit much to ask. I swear to you, Hackett, I think Gillian and Rowan are trying to kill me. Are you sure you're not overdoing it? Me overdoing it? Never. My training with the two guards wore me out. Despite my many pleas, neither of them agreed to carry on the walk back to the castle. I will find a way to exact my revenge. There's no way I'm letting things go. Fortunately, I'm now in a much more peaceful environment, where there's much more my element. Hackett and I are in his room, firmly resolved to prepare ourselves as best we can for Maelbjorn's birthday and its opening song. Unlike the contest, I can't just sing something I like. The choice of the song will set the tone for the rest of the festival. However, that's not quite where my mind is at the moment. And I swear that the old boy wouldn't be able to be nice if his life depended on it. Is he really that awful? Blah blah blah, your brand's a miracle of the gods and blah blah blah, you should pay more respect to it, blah blah blah. The hawk raises a talon to hide his smile, while I gesticulate, exaggerate my imitation of the priest. You're learning new things anyway, right? That's the most important thing. I'd rather learn by having fun. I don't doubt it for a second. Unfortunately, life isn't that simple. Yeah, well, life could make an effort to be simple once in a while. Don't think we'd end up bored if it was. Probably yes, but in that particular case I feel like I have the right to complain. Well, I certainly won't stop you from complaining. Hackett laughs again as he gently strokes the strings of his lute. So, do you have any idea what we could do for our first act as royal bards? I have a few. I think we obviously want something warlike, considering how they like it here. Plus it'll give our favourite prince in armour an occasion to show he's a warrior first and foremost. I also want to give you a solo. I'll give you a chance to shine as well, while I focus on a way to show off my brand. Are you planning on incorporating it in our musical act? Yeah, I don't really have a choice. Jan practically ordered me to show my powers in public. And do you have any ideas how to do that? Not yet. All I can do is freeze a little rock in the air. It's not exactly impressive, but with practice I'm sure I'll figure something out. In the meantime, I'll send you some ideas. If you like any of them, we can always go with that for now. Perfect. I'll listen carefully then. And during the next few hours, I sing him several songs from my repertoire which, at least in my opinion, fit with what we are asked to do. Hackett accepts or rejects some of them. We work that way for the rest of the day. From time to time I take advantage of being in the middle of the singing to awaken my brand, which does not fail to attract Hackett's attention, since he's obviously amazed by what he sees. It would seem that any song will do as an awakening gesture. That's good to know. After a few hours we stop and I say goodbye to Hackett. I could have played longer, but I like to see Maelbjorn. Once I arrive in front of Maelbjorn's office, I realise that for once there's no one guarding the door. So I knock and the bear's voice rings out from inside. Come in! As usual, the bear is buried in his papers. He lifts his muzzle for a moment to smile at me before turning his attention back to it as I close the door behind me. You look great. I suppose that means your training has gone well. Ah, that, my prince, is my talent for faking it. I trained with Wool, then with Gillian, and I think I've discovered some muscles in my body that I didn't know I had. You should sit down then. That's very nice of you to suggest. I approach Maelbjorn's desk and pull up a chair to sit opposite him. And how did it go? Well, I don't particularly want to brag.
Obviously.
I did pretty well with my brand. Managed to freeze a pebble in time. Again, the prince takes his eyes off his papers to give me a look of astonishment mixed with curiosity. What, you thought it was going to be harder?
No, it's great.
You could pretend to believe a little more. The bear laughs as he straightens up, then seems to hesitate for a moment as he observes me.
You said it so casually I wasn't sure if it was true. We'll have to warn the kings as soon as possible.
It's just a tiny stone. I think they already know anyway. Gillian must have told them about it.
Erik, it's more than just a stone. That means there's a whole new road ahead of us.
Easy there. I've got a long way to go before I can do anything useful, although I'm very eager to.
Obviously you have it to progress at your own pace. We don't know enough about this brand for you to rush its use. But I'm not worried. You're a gifted person, not only when it comes to singing.
This time it's my turn to hesitate when I see the prince's hopeful look. Let's say I can't do anything useful with my brand. What are you going to do? I almost expected to break Maelbjorn's mood, but he shrugs as he goes back to his work.
What we've always done so far. Frostfang's ingenuity doesn't stop at a brand. The kings have long been preparing to fight Mechad if it ever comes to that.
I know that. You don't necessarily want to put pressure on me, but it's still there.
Welcome to my world.
I guess you felt something similar with your brand.
Indeed.
Given the bear's dry tone and intense concentration on his documents, I don't think it's a good idea to push this discussion further. Not right now, anyway. But maybe it's still possible to make something of this conversation. Anything new?
Oh, no, not really. Complaints, administration work, nothing of interest to you, I'm afraid.
Oh, complaints. I know all about that. It's really about me, though. The prince sneers as he scribbles something on one of the papers.
Well, if you absolutely want to know more, a few soldiers destroyed some furniture in an inn down in the lower city after a drunken altercation, and their officer is asking me what to do. I always have to get involved. They're incapable of making decisions on their own.
As Maelbjorn mumbles, I pull a chair to sit in front of him. Should make the soldiers pay for part of the repairs, and an officer for the rest. That'll teach you to keep an eye on them next time.
They might not like that.
You're the prince, right? Besides, it's either that or you're forever dealing with other people's blunders. Not every responsibility is yours.
Well, I guess it's not a totally bad idea. Where did that come from?
I learned a couple of things living with a group of artists who are not always quite orderly. Ragor, our band's leader, always taught us to fix our own mistakes, but that didn't stop him from being there when it really mattered to us.
You seem to appreciate him, given the way you talk about him.
The bear lifts his head to smile at me with a sparkle of curiosity in his eyes.
Do you miss this life?
It depends. The living conditions are better here, but I think I miss the simplicity of life out there. Being able to sing and dance when I feel like it, getting drunk and laughing with friends while seeing a whole lot of different landscapes. It wasn't castle life, but it was still wonderful in its own way. I pause as I return his smile to the prince, and he nods understandingly.
Well, I think I can understand how difficult it is for you here, especially since you have your brand.
Oh, but I'm not to be pitied. I'm not the only one to whom it's difficult. I insist with a look in the bear's direction so he understands I'm talking about him.
Oh, I can't complain, Erik. Well, I know I vented a lot the other day, and I thank you for being there to listen to me. But I'm the only one who can carry this burden. People have died for me to get there. A lot of others would dream beyond the throne so they could make things better. This is a unique opportunity I have in my hands. I'm well aware of that.
I may not be able to carry out this responsibility, but I can carry you. Maelbjorn gives me a mocking smile, then he looks at himself.
You need a bit of muscle for that.
Not literally, you big idiot. I chuckle and the bear joins me for a moment. Eventually he sighs heavily.
I won't refuse your presence by my side, far from it. Just don't forget about your well-being, all right?
Forget my well-being? My life is far too exciting for me to forget myself. I'll make sure no one else forgets me either. Maelbjorn shakes his head in amusement as he goes back to his papers. It doesn't take long before he growls. What's the matter?
A noble complained about not getting his shipment of furs.
How's that your problem?
That guy usually takes care of it, but I've needed him lately, so he hasn't been able to hunt for fur recently. And this particular noble is... well, let's just say he's known to have some very special requests.
Ooh. That cat told me a story about a guy wiping himself with mink fur, so I can imagine how special it can be.
The bear can't help but chuckle again. Well, it's the same person.
And you still take his request seriously, knowing that? Maelbjorn shrugs as I stand up to approach him.
No choice. He's a no...
I snatch a letter from the bear's paws and step back as he looks at me with uncertainty.
What are you doing?
How do you write, wipe your ass with a piece of cloth like everyone else?
Erik, give it back.
Tss, tell me you'll write nonsense on it. The prince stands up slowly and walks towards me, holding out his hand, as if he expects me to give him the paper back.
Don't be silly. You can't even write.
That's precisely why it'll be nonsense. He sighs heavily as I retreat till my back is very literally against the wall.
You can't go much further.
Oh no! I'm stuck between a wall and a big bear. How terrible. I cast a seductive glance in Maelbjorn's direction as he merely observes me with a jaded look. He seems to be playing along as he pins me against the wall for a moment, bringing his muzzle near my head to whisper in my ear.
You'll have to be more subtle than that, dwarf rabbit.
Then in an instant he snatches the letter from my hands and returns to his desk with a sneer. Hey, that's not fair. You're exploiting my weaknesses.
Your weaknesses aren't quite hard to exploit.
He takes a long look at the piece of paper he's holding and ponders as he turns his gaze towards me.
Well, I guess he doesn't need to know this message is from me. Besides, he was rather rude in his letter.
He smiles at me mischievously as he picks up a quill.
How about, if you want to wipe with fur, use your own.
I can tell you're not trained in the art of insulting others. That's too nice.
Your first suggestion wasn't really insulting either.
Wait, I'll think of something. I draw my chair to sit beside the prince and think long and hard. That's when I spot a tuft of fur on the floor. Without waiting, I pick it up and place it on the desk as I look at Maelbjorn with my most serious face.
What?
Send it to him and tell him to make do with it. It's pretty clear the bear is having trouble staying serious about this idea.
It's not insulting.
No, but it's funny.
I must admit, it is funny.
He starts laughing, and I join in, and with difficulty begins to write the letter.
This is stupid.
Of course it is, and that's exactly why it's fun to do it.
It shouldn't become a habit.
Oh, once in a while is not a habit. Plus, don't tell me he doesn't feel good to let off a little steam. The prince nods as he's writing.
I must admit that it's relaxing. I can't really describe it.
How many times do you have to deal with morons? Can't imagine how hard it was not to let them know that they're idiots.
Oh, yes. I can't allow to. As a prince, I must be above that.
Hard to imagine how frustrating that must be. Maelbjorn shrugs as he puts the letter back in its envelope, and I add the tuft of fur in under his amused gaze.
I know that once I'm in power, they'll take me more seriously. At least I hope so.
I feel like you underestimate yourself sometimes.
I'm a realist. The old nobility doesn't dare to criticize me directly. They've made it clear to me several times I don't deserve the throne.
And why? Only because of your brand? The prince loses his gaze on the papers lying on his desk. I have the impression it's only to avoid my eyes more than from interest in them.
There's that, but also the fact I'm adopted, an heir to kings who took power by force. I feel that Lusk and Aeon should have let the clan leaders vote for a king rather than impose themselves. That was out of the question. Half of them were on the losing side of that civil war for my adoptive father as he decided to pardon them.
So, the tension's never fully eased since, as I understand it.
Yes, that's a problem.
Eventually the bear finds a document that catches his interest and starts scribbling on it.
Since the kings have been in charge, I've been scrambling to find as much incriminating information about the noble families as possible. That's how we keep them on a tight leash for now. But we all know that at some point they will become a problem again. Already starting to be.
I don't know much about politics, but if I may offer a word of advice, you should do a show of force.
What exactly do you consider to be a show of force?
Something impressive. Prove that you don't intend to let them walk over you.
Maelbjorn looks at me with a smile before he turns his attention back to his paper. Well, that's an idea, but unfortunately it's easier said than done. Not to mention it's taking the risk of infuriating them even more.
Oh, I'm not telling you to become a tyrant and execute them all. It'll something to make it clear to them that you are the future king.
Well, I guess I can think about that. With my brand.
Stop obsessing over your brand. You're much more than that.
It matters to them. I can hardly ignore their expectations.
That's because they don't know what they're missing by reducing you to that. The prince needs to hear some things, even if it might be embarrassing to admit it. You know, I got to visit a few courts with nobles from all over the country. A lot of them had preconceived notions about the world and how the common people live. Yet they could get out to their castles, travel and see the reality of the outside world. There was nothing to hold them back. But none of those I knew took that first step. But you were able to understand me very quickly, and yet you were stuck in this city. Seeing his confused look, I smiled at him hesitantly. Come on, Erik, you can compliment him. He won't kill you. You have something that others don't. Don't know exactly what to call it, but I guess some would say it's a form of intelligence or empathy. That's the word I was looking for. Well, whatever it is, you're capable of things that many of the nobles are incapable of. They don't see that in you because they don't have that little something in them. Now he's the one who looks embarrassed. I even feel like I can see a slight blush under his fur.
Thanks, Erik. I appreciate that, really. And I wish I was as sure of my talents as you are, but...
Tis. I don't want to hear that. I'll help you develop that potential, whether you like it or not.
Well, that's one of the reasons I enjoy your company. You give me a different perspective.
Not to mention my unparalleled charm, outstanding singing skills, and ironclad humility. I punctuate my self-praise with a wink aimed at Maelbjorn, who chuckles as he observes me with a sort of tenderness in his eyes.
Truly unique.
I blush too, then I clear my throat to break the awkward silence. Been a long time since I felt that buzz in my stomach. Anyway, I should probably work on my writing.
You can do it next to me, I don't mind.
Good, I was going to ask her approval anyway. I stick my tongue out at him as he starts laughing while pushing a blank sheet of paper in front of me.
Do a few lines of letters you already know while I deal with the rest of these grievances.
I grab my quill and, while making copies of various letters, I watch the bear from the corner of my eye. Say, have you ever been settled?
Settled?
In a relationship?
Oh, well, let's just say I've had a few flings, nothing too permanent.
You can tell me you're a big flirt, you know. I flash a mocking smile at the prince, who merely sighs.
Well, I'm not, but from what I know about you, I think you are.
Let's not exaggerate. For a travelling bard, I'm actually well behaved.
I mean, even if you were a big flirt, I could hardly blame you. We all need to let off some steam now and then.
That's a very romantic way of saying we should have fun while we can. Maelbjorn smirks slightly as he puts away some papers.
And what about true love, Can bards find it, or are they doomed to wander eternally in the barren wilderness of carnal pleasure?
You say that as if the concepts of true love and pleasure cannot coexist.
Well, let's just say that, in my experience, those who want their pleasure above all else have trouble with the idea of fidelity.
Ooh, that sounds like a heartbreak.
Maybe.
Would an explanation help the bear understand me better? I shudder as I remember Vico for a moment. I've had quite a bit of time to think about this matter. In fact, I wonder about it constantly. I know that from an outsider's perspective, I come across as a very horny rabbit. But you see, I've known true love. At least what I thought was true love at the time. And I screwed it up big time. Maelbjorn's concerned gaze falls on my quill. I realize a large ink stain is smeared across my exercise sheet. Sorry.
Never mind. I've got a bunch of other sheets for that.
I simply put the quill down in its holder as I sigh heavily. Long story short, I think looser relationships are less difficult to deal with. If it doesn't work out, the separation isn't as painful.
So, since this specific relationship failed, you forbid yourself to love forever?
It did much more than just fail. It crumbled horribly. Plus, I don't know, I feel like it was my only chance, and it's over.
It sounds like you're having trouble telling yourself it's over. It's not betraying your past feelings to allow yourself to love again.
As I listen to Maelbjorn, I rub my eyes and shrug. All I know is that I hope to understand what's happening to me, one of these days. Besides, I'm still young, I have time for love. It's clear that the bear is trying to reassure me by smiling warmly at me. In a way it works, at least a little.
I understand. The quest for love takes time. Anyway, hope you won't take offence at my slightly more traditional approach to the subject. I've had enough experiences to know that I want to be settled for good, as you say.
Oh no, on the contrary, I think it's sweet. For once it's a prince on top of the tower, not a princess. He chuckles, and I wink at him as I resume my exercise on a new sheet. Besides, I think you're very far from traditional. The few nobles I know were very much in the idea of passing on their title. What I know of you, you're not necessarily looking to have children. Am I wrong?
That's a question that's been on my mind for a long time. Let's just say I've explored all the possibilities, and some of them are not optimal when it comes to producing heirs.
The bear dips his quill into the inkwell several times while flashing me a big smile. It's strangely sexual in this context, and I'm not sure he realises it. But since you have two adoptive fathers, I don't think you're under the usual pressure to have your own children.
Indeed, always been pretty free in that respect.
And you still want to have kids?
I don't know. At the moment, no, but apparently the desire comes later for some people. In any case, I can adopt if the need arises.
Wouldn't the nobility take it badly?
Oh, no doubt.
Maelbjorn grabs a letter with a tuft of fur intended for the noble and waves it in front of me with an amused look.
I suppose I'll have to give them this sort of message more often in that case.
Oh, my lord learns to be irreverent. You make a good student.
Unlike you, focus on those exercises.
Hey, I'm the perfect student, just as Vull and Gilliant. They love me.
I'm sure they do. Knowing them, they're really the type to get attached to others.
He sneers, and I can't help but smile as I trace the letter. You know, I'm not sure I've mentioned this before, but I really appreciate the opportunity to spend time with you.
You better believe the feeling's mutual. You're a nice change from the usual sycophants and people who'd like to see me disappear.
I'm right in between. Arrogant enough to stand up to you, but benevolent enough to not be willing to murder you for 2 coins. In short, I'm the perfect companion.
Well, that's for sure. I can tell you're different, in your own way.
I'm sure that's why you wanted to make me informer as soon as I arrived. All that talk about my neutrality was a load of crap. At my insistence, the prince shakes his head in exasperation as he sighs.
Don't push a joke too far. I might start to think you're serious.
I chuckle and continue my exercise in silence. It's strange, but I'm beginning to enjoy the sound the tip of my quill makes on the paper. From time to time I see Maelbjorn watching my progress in the corner of his eye when he's finished reading a document. For my part, I watch him sigh each time he's immersed in his papers. I must say this is not how I imagine the life of the prince. It lacks a touch of debauchery and scandal, in my opinion.
Fuck.
In the moment, I'm rather surprised. It's rare to hear the bear swear, and I think my astonishment is obvious.
Sorry.
Is something wrong?
No, just another stupid request.
Carried away by curiosity, I lean towards the paper in his hand and immediately takes it out of my sight. What is it about?
Erik.
Come on, you know you won't defeat my curiosity. The prince gives me an exasperated look, then gives in to my unstoppable charisma.
Well, there's a complaint about the cleanliness of the streets. I'll spare you the details because it's pretty scabrous. You can imagine it's not usually the kind of problems I deal with.
Well, at least it brings you close to the people's reality.
Well, as a prince, I have more important things to do.
Like preparing a bard competition? The urge to stick my tongue out and mock Maelbjorn is tempting, but something tells me he doesn't need that right now.
Ugh, these have served the greater good of the kingdom. I'm not going to find a solution to our biggest problems at the bottom of a pile of shit.
A pile of what?
Forget it. My point is we have a lot of issues to deal with already. I could be helping my father, instead they're making me work on whatever this is. I feel like I'm being punished like a child.
Why would they do that?
They didn't like the way I handled the rescue of the Macadian diplomats, and they wanted to take charge of the situation.
You asked me, they're not entirely wrong. Not only did you screw up, but it's too serious a matter for you to handle on your own. The bear glares at me before turning his attention back to his documents.
Thanks for your support, I guess.
Hey, you're the one who said you appreciated my honesty. You'll have to live with it. Maelbjorn's only response is a slight grunt. It seems I've offended His Highness. So I stand up silently and he glances at me out of the corner of his eye as I approach. Then, I slide my fingers against the back of his neck and feel him tense at my touch.
Erik, what are you doing?
You've never had a massage?
I don't think so. Well, that's not the point. You're not a servant. You don't have to do that.
What makes you think I need to be a servant to do that, Besides, I barely touched you for 2 seconds where I felt you tense up.
It's a reflex. Nobody touches me, usually.
It can be quite inconvenient when you have to participate in some activities.
Not in these situations, you dummy.
His deep laugh echoes in my ears. After all, it's pretty easy to get him in a good mood. So does that mean you don't want a massage?
No, on the contrary, I was just surprised.
Perfect. I resume my motion without delay, sliding my fingers down his neck to the beginning of his shoulders. I must admit, the armour doesn't help much. My massage seems to be having an effect, since the more I apply pressure to his body, the more his muscles relax.
Well, that feels nice.
You know, it'd feel even better if I had access to the rest of your body.
And how far would you go if you could,
Maelbjorn's intonation is surprisingly playful. I have to admit I didn't expect that from him. Should I follow his teasing? Oh, come on, Erik. It's not every day you get this opportunity. Well, it depends, I guess. How far do you let me go?
Probably far enough for your curiosity to be piqued, but not far enough for it to be satiated.
I can't have a smile as I lean to whisper in his ears, using my naughtiest voice. Well, well, dear prince. I didn't know that aspect of your personality. But, as you said, I am not a servant. And with that I step aside with a grin, fully expecting to leave the bear wanting more. He then turns to me with what appears to be a falsely disappointed expression.
You're giving up easily. First a kiss, now this. A lot of talk, but not much action. Maybe these songs about mast hoisting problems should be aimed at you.
Even though I obviously know I don't have any problems in that area, it doesn't stop me from being shot in the heart. That's not fair. You've told me about your desire to be in a relationship. I'm only helping you to respect your chastity vows.
I wouldn't exactly call it a chastity vow.
Just as I'm about to retort, someone knocks on the door. Maelbjorn stands up and smirks at me before he opens it. I can hardly see who's behind his towering stature. Eventually, 2 large ears stick out and my gaze meets Semi's before she even has time to speak. I have important information, my prince. I don't know if it's wise to discuss it here.
Does it concern him directly?
No, it concerns you.
In that case, all the more reason for him not to leave. He must know the realities of politics.
The fennec nods as the bear shifts to let her in. She then hesitates as she looks at me out of the corner of her eye before returning her attention to Maelbjorn. A servant overheard a conversation between the Lord of Kermar and an unidentified person. Although it would suggest they were criticising the kings.
Do you have any incriminating information about this lord?
This is not the first time he's made clear his displeasure with the leadership of our kingdom. Other than that, we don't know much about him, but I have an agent on his case.
Good. I know every speck of dirt that may have tainted his life.
The Master Spy bows before leaving, giving me a brief smile on her way. Once the door is closed, the bear sighs as he goes back to his seat.
As you hear, trouble is never far away.
Is it forbidden to criticise the kings? There's so many people out there would be arrested.
No, it's not forbidden per se. What's worrying is that nobles are criticising us more and more openly. Some of them have too great ambitions their own good. That's why they need to be reminded who holds the power.
I wince as I recall the Macadian fable Maelbjorn read to me. To each their nature and to each their place, right? hope this means you have to take harsh decisions against them.
We avoid violent displays as much as possible. If you're really worried about it, believe me, you'd be inclined to punish some of them if you really knew what these people are capable of. There's a reason Lusk and Aeon managed to convince the common people of Frostfang to support them during the Civil War. They had a score to settle with the nobility.
I guess everything's more complex than it looks, as always.
Indeed. I'm not asking you to take my word for it. Given your natural curiosity, you shouldn't have any trouble asking other people's opinions on the subject.
That's an idea. After all, you said it yourself, I must know the realities of politics. The prince nods as he resumes his work.
To move on to a lighter topic, how do you feel about the performance you're preparing for my birthday? Are your rehearsals with that kid going well?
Oh yes, more than well actually. Don't think I'll be able to write an original song by then, but I promise to give it my all to make it memorable.
Glad to hear it. I know the pressure can be hard to handle, but it sounds like you're handling it perfectly.
There's one place I feel comfortable, it's at a show.
I'm looking forward to it then.
Overjoyed with Maelbjorn's attention to my well-being, I immerse myself in my exercises as I hum happily. The bear seems to be completely absorbed in his work too, so we work silently for the rest of the day. Eventually I leave him to his administrative management duties to take a well-deserved rest. My body is aching like never before, and though this moment spent with the prince was relaxing, I must admit that a chair is not as good as a bed. So I sprawl on my mattress, soothed, as I drift off into a blissful sleep. Savage barbarians. That's what the Romans used to call my ancestors. Well, in Latin, of course. We managed to wipe out an entire Roman legion. Something we're very proud of there. Not everyone managed that, we did. But with that bit of long ago history, we've come to the end of NeveN 4 now. Of course, there's way more to read. We have the concert to go through. That's going to be exciting. So I hope you'll enjoy that. I'll be in the next episode. And also have to talk about concerts and things. Have to give a quick mention to Argalath, who is one of the writers and the translator of NeveN. For the rhyming in that fable and the little songs there, the lullaby, it's very hard to make things rhyme when you translate them because you can't use the same words because they don't rhyme. You have to change things around, but keep everything as it should be so you keep the sense. So really well done there. I was impressed with that. And something else I'm impressed with, he says, pausing to try and think of a segue into this bit, are my patrons and my donors on Ko-fi. You all keep supporting the channel for so much time. It varies how long you've all been doing it, but I appreciate all of you, as I say. And as always, I want to give a quick mention to my top patrons: Matt Kenya, Mario Cervantes, Rafu, Bieka, Harvest Mouse Productions, Nova Starburn, Omar, Samutu, Andy Peng, Mohammed Al-Zamel, Aaron Fox, Sexac, Evan King, Cindy Dragowolf, Kopi, Spiderling, Grizz, Dissonance, Ida Koval, Tiger Cub, Bastian, Gobers Visser, Kartek, and Brian Hall. Thank you to all of you for supporting the channel. And yes, I'm still trying to get some work done on something outside of the channel. Just work is extremely busy at the moment, so I'm kind of a bit slow on getting things done in the background. Eventually, things will calm down. So I do have something I want to work on. It's more of the channel, but it'll look nice. Next weekend is something or other. I really don't remember what I had on the schedule now, and I could go and look it up, but I've been going at this for an hour and a half. It's time for a cup of tea. So I will let you know later what the next video will be. Of course, there'll be more NeveN not too long, so I'm trying to get caught up on some of these VNs. So until next time, thanks for watching. Bye for now.